Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. This incident is really, it's just questioning how the police department are about black people in this country. This article comes from the Charlotte Observer, and this incident happened at a Burger King in Charlotte, North Carolina. It says, shoot first, ask questions later, yell protesters after a Charlotte officer kills man. Okay. Protests broke out Monday at the scene where an alleged armed man was shot and killed during an encounter with a Charlotte Mecklenburg police officer. Tension centered on whether the man who died, 27-year-old Danquirs Napoleon Franklin, was armed at the time of the shooting. Police said he had a gun while protesters disagreed. The shooting happened at around 9 a.m. at a Burger King on Beatty's Ford Road near Interstate 85, police says. Some members of the crowd that gathered across the street from the shooting were overheard yelling at police as they cleared the scene. Shoot first, ask questions later, one protesting yelled. At least one of the protesters, identifying herself as Precious Robinson, said she was a witness and disputes the police account of what happened. Robinson said she was sitting at a restaurant's drive-thru when the incident unfolded. An armed man apparently was threatening a woman at Burger King, she said. An unarmed man tried to help the woman. Police shot the man who was unarmed, she said. The CMPD later said that misinformation was circulating about the shooting and offered a series of clarifications, including confirmation that officers saw the suspect with a gun and he refused to drop it. We encourage any witness to speak to our officers, said at a CMPD tweet. I'm going to stop you right there. So, a man who was armed, I'm just going to tell you straight up. So a man who was armed, who basically they said that he was armed at the time of the shooting. This is what the police says about Danquirs Napoleon, that he was armed at the time of the shooting, right? So the protester they're saying that the person who was armed wasn't the guy. Wasn't Danquirs Napoleon. Let's put it like that. There wasn't Danquirs Napoleon. Danquirs was the man that helped the woman. He was unarmed. That's what Precious Robinson says, that the person that the police claimed that he was armed really wasn't unarmed. He was just helping a woman confronted the guy who was armed. So I'm gonna continue reading this. It says, according to two 911 calls released by CMPD Monday afternoon, two women called separately from the Burger King to say they saw a man with a gun. A customer came up here and he walked behind the counter to fight an employee, said the first 911 caller, who was inside the restaurant. A few moments later, her voice got more urgent. He got a gun, she said, adding that he had pointed it at someone. The man was apparently in and out of the Burger King during the 2-minute call. At one point, the caller can be heard instructing someone to lock the door. Okay, this part was confusing. I'm going to continue reading this, and I want you guys to hear this story. It says, officers arrived at the scene 4 minutes after the first 911 call began, police says. CMPD Police Chief Kerry Putney briefed the media outside the restaurant. Say, we get here, engage the subject who is armed. There are multiple commands to drop the weapon as we engage him outside in the parking lot. At some point, one of the first arriving officers perceived a lethal threat. Now, for those of you who didn't know the police officer, this police officer is a white woman, right? And then she's claiming that the suspect is for a lethal threat and fired at least one round, striking the subject. That officer was later identified as Wendy Curl. Investigators also found a gun at the scene and it is believed to be the suspect's weapon, Putney says. He said he was not yet sure how the man was holding the weapon. See, this is what confuses the media, confusing the public. You hear what that person says? That quote, he was not yet sure how the man was holding a weapon when the shooting occurred. But then one guy was supposed to be armed. You said you saw an armed suspect, and then the female cop claiming that he was a threat. And then he said, and then of course it said, they continue saying that, but it's apparently pretty obvious that he was getting verbal commands to drop the weapon. It continues to say it was visible at some point there was a movement or something that was perceived as lethal threat. Fire the weapon, Putney says. Franklin was pronounced dead at Antrim Health Carolina Medical Center, police says. And in 2010, former Charlotte Observer staff writer Eric Fraser profiled Franklin and another student, Jawan Lewis, in a story focused on the low graduation rate among African American males in North Carolina. Franklin, a high school senior at the time, was the example of the student with hopes for college. Both spent their first year of high school at Midwood, then a special campus for kids at risk of dropping out. Jawan eventually quit. Danquirs is making peace with his past, Fraser wrote in the story. His mother, Deborah, said that Franklin had cocaine in his body when he was born. I did drugs all 9 months I was pregnant, according to the 2010 story. Franklin's grandmother raised him, according to the story. In a follow-up story in June of 2011, Frank Fraser wrote conventional wisdom saying Danquirs Franklin should be a high school dropout by now. Instead, he's about to enroll in college. At the time, he was preparing to enroll at the Art Institute of Charlotte and tried to find loans and grants to cover his education, according to the story. I am so proud of him, said his mother, Deborah Franklin, who kicked her cocaine habit in 2007, according to the 2011 story. She declined to comment for this story on Monday. And this is getting weirder and weirder. It said that the Department's Internal Affairs Bureau will conduct an investigation into the shooting, and a separate investigation will look into whether CMPD policies and procedures were followed in the case, police says. Officer Kerr, of course, has been placed on paid administrative leave, which is standard policy whenever an officer discharges a service weapon, police says. Kerr has worked for CMPD for nearly 24 years, according to the department. No officers were injured. Mayor Mike Campagna and several other CMPD officers talked with protesters shortly before noon and stayed for about 40 minutes. Campagna and they're part of the CMPD's Constructive Conversations team, which has its roots in the protest that follows the fatal police shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. Charlotte City Council member Braxton Winston acknowledged that there are differing accounts of the events, and he was hoping to keep communication open as the investigation progressed. This is the second time CMPD officers have killed someone in 2019. In January, police said Michael Daniel Kelly was armed with a knife when he was shot near a Family Dollar store in West Charlotte. So, this is the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department's Twitter. Explain the entire situation. And this is Jane Wester, tweeted that that's the scene of that incident. And that's the end of the article. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's really saddened that anyone, not a CMPD police department, says that he had a weapon, he had a gun on him, right? But a witness, contradict what the police officer was saying. Now, remember, Danquirs Franklin changed his life around. As you notice that you heard the story that his mom used to be a cocaine addict. And he got drugs in the system. And then all of a sudden, everybody thought he's going to drop out and be a troublemaker. But it turns out he ended up, going to college. So the thing of it is that this story is so saddened because here's another promising person lost his life over over a misunderstanding. Like the officer claimed he has a weapon, but the witness said he didn't have a weapon. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this. And this is a 911. I think believe it was in a 911 call about one of the person saw him with a gun, and then another witness who basically saying that that's not the case. That Precious Robinson told that no, he didn't have a gun. He was just helping a woman. He was unarmed. He was just helping a woman out. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to go ahead and play this news clipping. Give me one. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play this news clipping. And remember, reaction will not show you the video, but you will hear the audio of this news story. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then I'm going to finish the rest of my commentary. Okay, this video gonna play. It's gonna take a while to upload, but it'll play in a few minutes. Okay, get me 1 second here. Something ain't right. Okay, okay, it's uploading right now. Just give me a few minutes, and then if it's not working, then I'm gonna go ahead and finish my commentary.
Somebody was just killed by a man wearing the uniform that these men are wearing. They're not here to protect this crowd.
This shit, since the police ain't over here, I'm gonna show you exactly what this man did. I'm gonna show you exactly what this man did. They was right here. Right here. You understand what I'm saying? Right here. Right here. Right here. This man trying to protect this young lady who work here. You understand what I'm saying? Trying to protect her. He got to fight with the other man. You understand what I'm saying? You whooped him. You beat him. Now you're mad. You trying to pull out a pistol. By the time you pull out the pistol, the police, you took off running. The other dude, he right here. He fainted. You understand what I'm saying? He walking back. Going to the car. Where your weapon? Drop your weapon. What weapon? You understand what I'm saying? No weapon. No weapon. Bare hand. And y'all shot this man over here. They probably don't clean it up. They don't clean it up. They don't shot this man. That don't make no sense.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Precious Robinson is the witness of the young man who was shot and killed by police, a female cop. Now, you heard what she said. She says that the guy who was unarmed was protecting the woman, and then the two of them was fighting. Now the guy that he beat him up, but the guy that was armed already took off, right? So when the police arrived, that's when officers told the guy who was unarmed, put the gun down, drop your weapon. And he didn't have a weapon, he was unarmed, and that's when the female police officer shot and killed him. See, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That people think the man was armed, and the media claims that, oh, he was armed, and you know, he feared for his life. But the problem is that he wasn't armed. The guy you was looking for already took off. The unarmed person fought this guy that had a weapon, and obviously when he had a gun, that's when he ran away. And when the police showed up, they shot the wrong guy. So that's why these protesters were very upset about this. So, and Precious Robinson just explained just now, you heard what happened. And so the thing of it is, we won't even know what Charlotte police is going to do, how they're going to clean this story up. But they stick to their story and says, he has a gun. What can our officers do? And the witness saw the entire thing and said, no, he fought the guy that had the gun. That's not, the guy that was shot didn't have a gun. So, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. Click, subscribe, and click the notification bell for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.